The room was full of people, laughter, and celebration, but Jungkook had never felt so alone. Everyone was talking, smiling, praising the match as if it was something out of a dream. Two powerful families united. A beautiful wedding. A perfect union. But there was nothing perfect about it. Taehyung stood a few feet away, dressed in an elegant cream sherwani with gold detailing. His posture was stiff. His face, expressionless. He hadn't spoken to Jungkook since the ceremony ended. Not even a glance. Not a word. Nothing. He didn't want this marriage. Jungkook knew that. Taehyung's family had forced him into it, just like Jungkook's family had forced him. But unlike Jungkook, who had accepted it for the sake of his family's survival, Taehyung resented it. And maybe, resented him. Later that night, silence filled the room like smoke. Their wedding suite was grand, polished, and cold. Jungkook sat at the corner of the bed, hands folded tightly in his lap. He could feel the weight of Taehyung's presence across the room, standing near the window with his back turned. "Are you even going to speak to me?" Jungkook asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Taehyung didn't move. "You don't have to love me. I'm not asking for that. But can we at least talk?" Still nothing. Jungkook stood slowly, the silence cutting deeper than any insult. "I knew you hate this. I know you didn't want to marry me. But I didn't choose this either. You didn't have to say yes," Taehyung finally said, his voice calm, but laced with something bitter. Jungkook blinked. "I did. My father, he would have lost everything. We wouldn't have been on the streets." Taehyung turned then, his eyes dark, unreadable. "And I had no choice. My father made it clear, either marry or lose everything I've built." Jungkook's throat tightened. "So we are both prisoners?" "No," Taehyung said flatly. "You're just a guest in a marriage that means nothing to me," and with that, he left the room, leaving Jungkook standing in a place that was supposed to be home, already feeling like an outsider. The silence between them stretched for days. In the mansion's large halls, they passed each other like ghosts. Not even by mistake did their shoulders brush. Not once did their eyes meet during breakfast. Taehyung stayed out all day, sometimes not returning until midnight. Sometimes not at all. And Jungkook waited. He had moved into the room they were supposed to share, but Taehyung never stayed there. His things remained untouched on one side of the closet, but he slept in the guest room down the hall. Jungkook wasn't surprised. He'd stopped expecting anything from him. Taehyung returned late again that evening, the sound of his car pulling into the driveway breaking the stillness of the night. Jungkook sat by the large window, the one facing the courtyard, his book untouched in his hands. He didn't get up. Not until he heard the sound of the front door slamming. Taehyung walked in without looking at him. Again. He removed his coat, loosening the top buttons of his black shirt, and walked toward the other room. "Do you always stay out this late?" Jungkook asked softly. Taehyung paused, but didn't turn. "Does it matter?" "It does if you live here. If we're supposed to be married," Taehyung scoffed. "Supposed to be? That says everything, doesn't it?" Jungkook stood, frustration finally pushing through his chest. "I never asked for your love, Taehyung. I didn't come here expecting anything. But I'm not a wall you can ignore either." Taehyung finally turned around. His eyes were cold. "Then stop acting like this is a marriage. You're not my husband. You're a deal signed with ink. Nothing more." The words hit Jungkook like a slap. For a moment, neither of them said anything. And then Taehyung walked away again, this time slamming the guest room door behind him. Later that night, Jungkook sat alone in the dark, eyes stinging but dry. He'd gotten used to pretending that this house wasn't cold, that he wasn't breaking slowly. He didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt, but because even his tears felt unwelcome in this place. Still, he whispered to the empty room, "I married you to save my family." But no one asked who's going to save me. The soft murmur of guests filled the grand living hall of the Kim estate. Fairy lights wrapped around the pillars, soft golden hues giving everything a glow that felt far warmer than the coldness lingering between the newlyweds. It was Taehyung's father's idea, a dinner to introduce the happy couple to extended family and business acquaintances. A celebration of unity, wealth, and new beginnings. What a lie! Jungkook sat beside Taehyung on the long velvet couch, dressed in a traditional deep blue sherwani with silver embroidery. He looked perfect on the outside, but inside, he was drowning. Taehyung hadn't spoken a word to him since that night. Yet now, here they were, side by side, pretending for the world. "Smile," Taehyung muttered under his breath, not looking at him. "They're watching." Jungkook forced a smile, lips trembling slightly. "I wonder if you'd still remember I existed if they weren't." Taehyung didn't reply. A woman approached then, tall, beautiful, with soft waves of chestnut hair cascading down her shoulder. She wore a designer gown, confidence clinging to her like perfume. "Taehyung," she greeted, her voice smooth. "It's been a while." Jungkook blinked. Taehyung stood immediately. "Inha. You came, Inha." Jungkook recognized the name. The woman Taehyung was supposed to marry. The one he actually wanted. The one he loved. Inha smiled, touching Taehyung's arm gently. "Of course. I had to see the man everyone's talking about these days." She glanced at Jungkook. Her eyes held curiosity. Maybe amusement. "And this must be Jungkook," Taehyung said shortly. "My husband." Something tightened in Jungkook's chest. Inha tilted her head with a sweet but sharp smile. "Interesting." Later, when the guests had moved to the dining area, Jungkook stepped outside for air. The garden was quiet, lit by small lanterns. His fingers clutched the edge of the marble railing, knuckles white. "She was beautiful," he whispered, more to himself. Behind him, footsteps approached. "You shouldn't get involved in things you don't understand," Taehyung said, his voice low. Jungkook turned. "Was she the one you loved?" Taehyung's jaw clenched. He didn't deny it. "You should be with her then," Jungkook said. "Not me." Taehyung stepped closer, eyes sharp. "I didn't choose this." "Neither did I," Jungkook snapped. "But I'm here. Trying. And all you do is punish me for something I had no part in." Taehyung stared at him for a long second. Something flickered behind his eyes, but it vanished just as quickly. "I don't need your effort," he said coldly. "I just need you to stay in your place." Then he turned and left Jungkook in the darkness once again. Days passed after the dinner. Taehyung went back to ignoring him. If anything, the return of Inha made him even more distant, colder. Jungkook no longer tried. He stopped waiting up at night, stopped glancing at the door whenever a car passed the gate. He had learned. But then came the night Taehyung didn't return. Not late. Not at all. The clock struck 3 a.m. Rain poured outside, the kind of heavy storm that made power flicker and windows tremble. Jungkook sat curled up on the couch, worry blooming in his chest despite every effort to suppress it. He texted once. No reply. Called. Straight to voicemail. He told himself it wasn't his place to care. But he stayed awake the whole night anyway. Morning came dull and cloudy. Jungkook didn't sleep. He paced the marble floors of the hallway, peeking from time to time through the curtains. Every sound made his heart jump. It wasn't until noon that the main door finally creaked open. Taehyung walked in, soaked from head to toe. Hair clinging to his forehead, shirt nearly transparent from the rain. His steps were unsteady, his face pale. Jungkook ran to him without thinking. Where the hell were you? His voice cracked. Do you know what time it is? Taehyung didn't answer. His knees buckled slightly. Jungkook reached forward and caught him before he could fall. Why you're burning up? Jungkook whispered, panicked. You're sick. Taehyung tried to pull away. I'm fine, you're not, Jungkook shouted, trembling. Why are you doing this to yourself? To me. Taehyung didn't reply. His eyes fluttered shut as he swayed. Jungkook helped him into the room, the one that used to be only his. He laid him down gently, hurried to get towels, medicine, dry clothes. As he sat beside him, brushing wet hair from Taehyung's forehead, he whispered bitterly, I hate that you scare me like this. I hate that I care. I hate that you still don't see me, even when I'm right here. Taehyung didn't respond. He was asleep. But his hand, cold and trembling, reached blindly under the sheets and found Jungkook's. Fingers curled loosely around his. Just once. Taehyung woke up to the scent of something warm. His head pounded, vision hazy. Light spilled through the curtains, soft and golden. And next to him, Jungkook, asleep on the chair by his bedside, face resting on folded arms, lips slightly parted, his hand still loosely holding Taehyung's. Taehyung's throat tightened. Why? Why was he still here? Why hadn't he left like everyone else? Later, Jungkook stirred. He looked at Taehyung, quickly pulling his hand away. You're awake. Good. Taehyung sat up slowly. Why are you still taking care of me? Jungkook froze for a second, then smiled, tired, sad. Because I'm your husband. Even if you never wanted me to be. The silence grew heavy. Taehyung looked down. I never asked for this marriage. Jungkook looked away. I know. Taehyung's voice was rough. But I didn't ask for Inha to come back either. Jungkook flinched. You love her. I thought I did, Taehyung said quietly. But when I saw you pacing outside in the rain, worried, angry, tired of trying, I realized, Inha never waited up for me like that. Jungkook met his eyes. Taehyung reached out slowly. His fingers brushed Jungkook's. You stayed. When I gave you every reason not to, tears brimmed in Jungkook's eyes. I didn't stay for your love. I stayed because I didn't know how to stop caring. Taehyung leaned closer. Then let me start learning how to care for you back. Jungkook blinked. I can't undo everything, Taehyung whispered. But if you let me, I'll try. For real this time. A long pause. And then, Jungkook nodded. Just once. Just enough. Taehyung leaned in. His lips brushed softly against Jungkook's forehead. Then cheek. Then, finally, his lips. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't dramatic. It was real. Two broken people choosing to begin, slowly, painfully, honestly. Together. 1 year later, laughter filled the Kim estate. Jungkook arranged jasmine flowers over the archway. Taehyung walked up behind him, wrapping his arms around his waist. Stop trying to work. It's our anniversary, Jungkook grinned. Someone has to make this place look magical. It already does, Taehyung murmured against his neck. Because you're in it, they smiled. No pretending. No pain hiding beneath smiles. Just them. And love. At last,